Hello and welcome to Human Trafficking 101. My name is Bukola Oriola. In this training, you will learn what human trafficking is. You will know two types of human trafficking, that is labor and sex trafficking, because those are the two types that the United States focuses on right now. You will also know how to identify victims and the community resources available to refer victims to in Minnesota. About myself, Bukola Oriola, I am the founder of the Enitan Story. The Enitan Story is a non-profit organization in Fridley, Minnesota. The mission of the organization is to advocate for victims and empower survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence. A little bit about me. I'm an international public speaker, a best-selling author, a mentor, advocate, entrepreneur, and consultant. I'm a member of the U.S. Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, an award-winning journalist, a survivor of human trafficking and domestic violence, and one of my main offerings is to provide practical solutions to service providers, government agencies, both at the state and federal levels, and community members on how to identify victims of human trafficking and domestic violence and also provide available resources to them. A little bit about the Enitan Story. The organization works with victims and survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence of all races and all genders. We also provide direct services, community outreach, case management, referral to community resources, because comprehensive services is very important in the provision of services to victims and survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence. And also we provide job and life skills. In our job and life skills, it's slightly different. It's more than doing resumes. We provide more of how to help a survivor reintegrate back, empower them with their leadership skills, and also help them to create jobs when they cannot find traditional jobs. So what is human trafficking? This definition is from the US government. In brief, human trafficking means the exploitation of someone for sex or labor for another person's economic gain. And in this definition that is here, the US government defines it as sex trafficking when a trafficker uses force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person to engage in a commercial sex act. And the person has to prove fraud, force, or coercion if the person is more than 18 years of age. However, if the person is less than 18, the person does not need to prove fraud, force, or coercion. That is slightly different in the state of Minnesota. Minnesota defines it as the same. However, in the state of Minnesota, you do not have to prove fraud, force, or coercion regardless of the age if it is sex trafficking. With labor trafficking, it includes, when somebody is recruited, harbored, or transported, or someone provides services to another person. And it also involves fraud, force, or coercion. And Minnesota State also goes with the federal law when it comes to this. So with labor trafficking, you still have to prove fraud, force, or coercion when labor trafficking has occurred, whether it is a child or an adult. However, we like to note that human trafficking does not require the movement of a person, and that's from the Trafficking Victim Protection Act, meaning that someone can actually be trafficked without necessarily moving the person from state to state or across borders. Sometimes someone is being trafficked by a family member, someone is being trafficked by a known person to them, or someone is being trafficked out of their own home. So if they are being trafficked in their own home, that doesn't include moving the person from one place or the other, but trafficking is still occurring in that one location where the person is. Risk factors. So what could make someone to become a victim of human trafficking? It could be history of abuse, so someone who has been abused again and again, either the person has experienced abuse from childhood and they grew up with the abuse, then it becomes normal. And that is something that can make someone to become a victim. Another is race and ethnicity, depending on the race, and really, it can be any race. So just so you know, homelessness is another factor that could make someone to become a victim. Disability, either it's physical disability or cognitive disability. Immigration status, meaning that the person could have some kind of conditional immigration status. So for example, someone has a work visa that limits the person to work with only one employer. That person is prone to being a victim of trafficking because the person cannot leave that employer. The person is tied to that employer. Sometimes the immigration status is even marriage, and the person is tied to this person to be married to. And as a result, the person can become a victim. And sometimes it's because the immigration status of the person has expired, where their visa has expired, or they do not even have visa at all. And the LGBTQ children and runaway youth are very prone to becoming victims of human trafficking. How to identify victims? You can identify victims through some of these examples I have here. These examples are not exhaustive, but these are some of the things to start paying attention to as you go about your work, as you are interacting with people, as you are going into homes to inspect homes, as you are working with your co-workers or other service providers and sharing information sometimes. What are those things that you can look out for to know that this person might be a victim of human trafficking, either it's sex or labor? Victim is being threatened or blackmailed. So if someone tells you that another person is threatening them to hurt them, that is coercion, or blackmailing them, that is coercion. That person is a victim of trafficking. The person can't tell what time or date it is. So sometimes someone doesn't speak English. English is not the only thing. Sometimes it's not that they don't speak English, but they've been moved from place to place, or sometimes they've been trapped in a house. They don't go out. They don't have access to the outside world. So they don't know what exactly the date is. They are constantly monitored. They are taken to wherever they want to go, whether it's hospital, whether it's going to even do grocery shopping, whether it's going out to even socialize if there is that opportunity to socialize, or going into a religious place. That might be the only time the person has opportunity to go out. And as a result, the person might have lost track of time or date, or don't know where they're even at. They cannot leave their place of work. Mind you, the place of work can be a home, it can be a friend's place, because it is not only stranger who can be a trafficker. A trafficker can be someone known to the victim. The victim owes employer. If they tell you they're working, but they're owing and they can't get anything out of their job because they're owing the employer or owing who they're working for, that is a red flag. Victims will lie. They will lie to you. They will tell you something now and tell you another thing later on, or keep changing the stories. If the story cannot make sense, that is a red flag. They have no form of identification. You can't identify who they really are. You don't know, they don't have any form of ID on them. They can't access their own ID. Then there is a problem. Victim thinks that they've made bad choices. So they blame themselves. They are telling you the bad experience they're going through, and at the same time blaming themselves. That is something to watch out for. And their stories are inconsistent, or they give you non-verbal cues. And the main non-verbal cues are always referenced is fear. Does this person look fearful? Does this person look like they want to tell you something, but they look scared to say something to you? So, after identifying victims, what can you do? The first step is to refer to community resources. There are direct service providers in Minnesota, and this list is not exhaustive. However, this list I have shared here are current grantees of the Minnesota Department of Health. There is a federal grant to help identify labor trafficked youth in the state of Minnesota. So these providers serve, youth, and some of them serve more than youth, but under the OVC grant, they can provide direct services to youth victims of labor trafficking in Minnesota. And it's the International Institute of Minnesota, the Advocate for Human Rights, the Enitan Story, Southwest Crisis Center, and Standpoint. And their informations are there and the kind of services they provide. For sex trafficking community resources, kindly visit the MDH website. There is a long list there. One of the service providers at the top of my head now is the link. They provide housing for youth victims of sex trafficking, and they also provide case management and other kinds of resources to youth victims of sex trafficking. And there are also tribal nation providers. There are victims around us who may come from the tribal community, and it is very important to think about providing culturally specific services to the victim. So when you come in contact with a victim who is from the Indian community, meaning the American Indian community, please refer them to the tribal nation service providers on this link with MDH. And next, what can you do? Well, I have 4 things here for you that you can do right now. Is when you identify a potential victim or an actual victim, please refer that victim to a community resource. Refer the victim to one of the community resources I've shared before this slide, either for sex or for labor trafficking. Share this information with your colleague. When you are sharing with your colleague, that might spark more conversation, and also, in addition to sparking conversations, your colleague will also be better informed when your colleague come in contact with a victim to be able to identify a victim. Develop internal protocols on how to create a safe referral for victims. If you don't know how to reach out to agencies like MDH, reach out to survival leaders in your community so that whatever you are creating can be survival informed, and it can also be trauma informed to really meet the needs of the victims or potential victims you may be coming across. Engage survival leaders in your work and be survival informed and trauma informed as you do so. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm available for in-person presentations and trainings. You can reach me at info@enitan.org, or you can Call or text me at 763-516-4359. Thank you so much for taking the time out to go through this quick training of Human Trafficking 101. This is a very compressed version for those who are very busy or those who are taking this as a component of a broader topic. This is just one of the elements of the training you are taking to help you be well informed as you provide services in the community. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless you. I hope to hear from you soon.